Thank you so much for being here this evening. My name is Karen Solheim, and welcome to PD in your PJs. And whether you're in your PJs or not, I don't need to know what hot cocoa or other beverage you have next to you. I don't need to know, but just so glad that you're joining us this evening. And let me read you the script that should go through and start all GAE virtual meetings. Um, while we celebrate all public school employees, this event is only for GAE members and GAE staff. Therefore, if you're not a GAE member or GAE staff, please sign in by putting your name in the chat along with your personal email address, your cell phone number, and your school system. And you can just put it in the chat to me if you like. We appreciate your interest in GAE. We hope you will join our GAE organization today by visiting gae.org. And everyone, please note that you must receive prior permission from the GAE Executive Committee or the GAE Executive Director before recording audio or video of this meeting. Social media posts concerning this meeting shall not contain information about the specific content of the meeting, although the sharing of general information about GAE and GAE events is encouraged. Please be courteous to other attendees and request their permission before posting photographs containing their images. And if you have any questions about social media posting of GAE events, please contact the GAE Executive Committee or GAE Executive Director, or you can send an email to me or put a comment in the chat and I'll follow up. And again, so glad everybody is here today. And I'm admitting about 5 other people, and one of them is our presenter for this evening. So we will let Teresa get set up here in just a minute to present. And if you are in as iPhone, if there is a way that you can go through and put your name in the chat or go through and change that so that we know who you are, that would be great. And Teresa, good evening.
Hey, Miss Karen.
And I just made you a co-host, so you should have screen sharing rights.
Okay.
And Teresa, we're going to talk today about free money because free money is always good money, I think, especially when you don't have to pay it back. And so Teresa, I will not steal any of your thunder at this point in time. And you are on.
Hello, everyone. I'm just going to share some tips and some best practices for writing the GAE foundation grant. I have written several of them over the years, and I've gotten them funded. And I'm just going to try to see if I can help anyone with some do's and don'ts. And I'll take questions either as I go or at the end. So let me see. I just did a Word document. What I tried to do is just walk through the grants with some do's and don'ts. So let me see.
This is where we always hope that technology is our friend.
Oh, it's our friend today. I hope it stays that way.
Yep.
Okay, so let's just dive right in. We have some grant. I'm sorry, I didn't get to do all of my spell checking. I mean, my day got away from me and I've been tutoring. So, but here are some non-negotiables some things that are must-dos if you're trying to be funded. So please follow all the directions. Failing to do so could eliminate your application for consideration. What am I talking about? When you take a look on here on the actual grant, they have they want it submitted as a PDF. They want it typed, the actual application. They want you to use Arial or Times Roman with the 12-point font and double space all of the other required documents. So those are some easy acts, but a lot of times we as grant writers, you forget or you try to do your own thing. So I would suggest that you take the actual grant and print a copy, and as you do these things, just physically check them off so that you know you're in compliance. Ask questions early. So for this particular grant, they do have an email and in phone number that if you have questions that you can go ahead and give them a call or email while you're writing. Don't wait until the deadline to upload your application. Just like Karen said, technology is great when it works, but what you don't want to do is wait until the last day and find out that your grant won't upload as a PDF or you can't even turn it into a PDF. So I would suggest that you try to give yourself about a week's grace, that if these complications come up, you have time to go back and get some help to fix it. Fill out the application in its entirety. Don't leave any questions unanswered. Don't skip anything. Don't say that's not important. Again, you don't want to get disqualified. So just moving down, and let's look at the actual plan for the grant. So there's also a little section at the top where it says eligibility. Make sure that you're eligible before you do all of this work and submit it and find out that you're not. So let's take a look. The first thing the grant says is it says, what is your objective? So I'm suggesting that you keep your project objectives to one or two, because what you don't want to do is come up with all of these objectives, and then you're going to get overwhelmed because you're going to have to be able to explain exactly how you're going to implement each of those. Next, be clear about who your target audience is and what you are trying to accomplish. So if you have a kindergarten class, that's going to be pretty simple because it's just your one class. But let's just say if you're a special area teacher and you teach in grades K through 5, make sure that your objective is going to be the same for kindergarten as it is for 5th grade. Or if you're just doing one particular grade level, just make sure that you're able to accomplish what you're saying you're going to. Description of the activities. So be very sure that your description is free from teacher jargon. We use a lot of jargon as teachers and abbreviations. So I'm suggesting that you write your activities to make them very easy to understand, as if it's a parent or any other person that's not in education, so they'll understand exactly what you're trying to do. If you do have acronyms, please spell them all the way out so that the readers of the grant know exactly what you're talking about. For your timeline, be specific and make sure your timeline is precise. So what I did is I tried to just include something right here so you can take a look at. This is not an official. I just found this on the internet, but you see, it makes it very simple for the reader to see what you're going to do and when you're going to do it. And so they have the months here and the year. So if you break it down, the grant committee is going to see exactly what you're talking about. Um, Moving on to your line item budget. So what I tried to do, I couldn't find exactly what I was looking for. So I just included this line. So if you get funded for the entire $1,000, let's just say part of your project includes games. So the games are $200. You're going to list the games that you bought. Um, but let's not forget taxes. These are things that we forget. We look at how much the cost is, but then we don't look at how much the taxes are. And also don't forget your shipping or delivery fees because all of that has to come out of your $1,000 grant. So please make sure you add all of these in when you create your actual budget and your shopping list so that you don't go over your $1,000. Um, Speaking of going over the $1,000, you may have additional grants or other financial assistance from someplace else. So what you're going to do is you're going to show how you're going to spend your $1,000 in entirety from GAE and just list the remaining items from, let's just say if you're doing something that assists with this from Donors Choose, you're going to go ahead and just put the Donors Choose breakdown and on with and include it with this grant as a breakdown in addition to what you got from GAE. um, Create an evaluation form because on here it asks they want to see how what your impact is. So while you're designing your grant, a pre or post test could help, a checklist or questionnaire. So you need something that you're going to be able to include in your return packet to GAE to show what did you start out with and how did you measure the progress that your grant had on your students. So congratulations, you've been funded. So if you got the money, these are some things you need not to forget. Implement the grant as you wrote it. Um, I'm not sure, so this is one of these questions that you could ask. If you need to make any amendments, you need to ask before you actually write the grant, and then how would that look? Then just be mindful that you have a year to submit the itemized report of your expenses. So that's where this piece right here comes into play. Make sure you keep your receipts. Take pictures of some of the, of the materials and how you implemented them. That would be great. If you have unused money that you can't account for, if it does not, your receipts don't total the $1,000, make sure that you return that to GAE. Next, submit evaluations as soon as you complete them within your grant timeline. Just make sure that's with your packet. And GAE is asking that you be ready for an interview if they request one. Don't forget to sign and date your grant. That is very important. That is a part. Again, remember, you don't want to be eliminated for these small things. And don't forget to include it as your upload when you upload your actual grant. Um, Again, I would suggest that you print out the actual grant and you just use it as a checklist as you're going through. And that is a surefire way that you will not forget the things that are required as you are working on the grant and when you get ready to submit the final application in your project. So I'm willing to answer any questions that anyone may have at this time. And I'll just wait, Miss Karen.
Well, that's great, Teresa. I'm going to chime in also, if you don't mind. I went through and probably wrote 10 years of grants, meaning once you write it, the best practices grant for 1 year and you get your $1,000, you can write another $1,000 best practices grant the next year and just keep things going on all of this. And I'm glad you mentioned the $1,000 threshold. To me, there's really no need of writing this grant if you're going to ask for $250. You just as well get the most that bang for your buck um, in writing the grant. And there's a comment in the chat, Teresa, if you could go back over the timeline piece you shared.
Okay, so I'll try to okay. So let's say because I think that they're going to make if I'm looking at this, they're going to notify you on May 31st of this year. So basically you have the summer to do your purchasing and your planning. So let's say when school starts, you want to implement this in August. Or let's jump ahead. Say you are centering a project around your state, your school district's curriculum and say you want to do, I'm just saying maybe the science fair and it's not until November. So what you're going to do is when you create your timeline, what you need to do is go ahead and take a look at ordering your supplies. Say if you order your supplies in August, that's what you're going to put down. You're going to have all of your receipts and everything, but you're not going to actually implement it until November. So November is going to be your target date, but you're going to also tell in the grant exactly what you're doing before because you're not going to implement it in November and then also order the supplies in November. You want to be mindful. Companies have backlogs and things like that, and you want to go ahead and get your materials and have them handy. And so what the outline does is just showing GAE exactly what your plans are. Plans do change, and as like I said, you may have to make a change with this. Say you ordered something, they were out of it, you may have to make a substitution with a different company. Just make sure that you make those adjustments on your timeline. Maybe when you send in your evaluation, you can say, here, this was my original plan that I submitted with the grant. However, due to unforeseen for circumstances, I had to change it and create a new timeline. Your new timeline is just so long as it's still within the parameters of the grant that you wrote, you should still be fine.
And I think Monique has her hand up for a question.
Okay.
Hi, I do. Yes. Is the information and the application and everything, is all of that on the GAE website?
The application is now you can Google the extra pieces like this timeline piece. You can Google itemized budget list to help you do, or you can create your own. So that's what I did. But the actual grant just gives you the outline of what they're asking you to do. And that, I'm sorry, that is on the GAE website.
And Teresa,
Thank
can you
you.
just scroll back to the list of items that are required? Great. Um, when Teresa says when they evaluate your grant, the they are the members of the professional development committee. And
Oh,
so,
okay. That's down here, I think, Miss Karen.
oh, well,
Here,
yes,
down.
but
Okay.
go back to the because I want to make a point about the items that are needed. Um,
Okay.
having written a number of grants and I've looked at my old ones. Um, if it says to go through up, no, the objective, okay, put the when it says to put these things in your grant, put them in the order they're listed there, and don't bounce around. If it says to have objective as number one, then do that as number one. And don't put that at the end because it's confusing for the reader. So on the GAE Professional Development Committee, there are 6 other members that were appointed by President Lisa Morgan, and then the 3 GAE executive officers, Lisa Morgan, Dr. Sharon Doe, and Carly Shaw. And so we will meet sometime between the end of March when the grants are all due, and then the award deadline, as Teresa mentioned, of May 31st, and go through and read them. And so and you pointed out a great thing, Teresa, with the acronym. Just because all of us are in education doesn't necessarily mean that we will know an accurate acronym that's maybe unique to your school system. So please don't assume that what you submit on paper, we're going to like have somebody else read your grant who's not in education before you submit it, and make sure what's on your two-dimensional paper anybody can understand. Sorry for going on about that. And there's another question in the chat, Teresa. Do you have a list of recommended grants per subject area? I have not probably looked on the GAE website yet. I've been pretty successful with grants too. Really helpful for assisting in class projects. I will share that on the GAE website, there is a list of winners from past years, probably the past 10 years or so. And in this day of technology, if you go to the older listings, it names the person in their school system. So you probably could do some little sleuthing and contact that person. We can figure out what school they're at, especially if it's a small district, and say, oh, what grant did you write? What was funded in all of this? Do you have any suggestions for recommended grants per subject area, Teresa?
I'm just thinking, whatever you are passionate about and whatever you have a need for in your classroom. I did one, I think, several years ago. I think when I first started teaching fourth grade, and that was like maybe 2001 or 2002. But what I needed was a color printer with ink for my classroom. I needed color paper. The kids wanted to do projects and things like that, and crayons and color pencils. So that was my need way back then, because when you go to the office to request that stuff, they're not going to give you 24 boxes of crayons. You may get 3. So I looked for the need, and so that was my need for my writing center. So the kids and I were able to I was able to print what their papers on color paper, which is something that they really liked, and we would post them outside of the classroom. Things have changed since then, but if you have a need for something that you want, say if you are a math teacher and you need math manipulatives, a science teacher, and you need equipment for science projects, those are the things that I would look for. I know in the day and age now, we have a lot of ESOL students at my school. We went from 40 to 120, and I am now gifted and ESOL. And I will say a lot of the teachers in the buildings use their personal iPads to do a lot of translations in the classroom. So that could be something that's needed, a piece of technology that's going to help you so much on your daily just teaching, trying to translate with kids that would, because I think in my school alone, we have 40 languages. So just things like that are going to help you be a more effective teacher is what I would ask for.
And Marcia, your question is, can grants be used for summer learning programs for school children? And it just says I'm reading from the website, members of the Georgia Association of this is under eligibility, who are actively teaching in the classroom or serving in a supporting educator position, such as counselors, social worker, media specialists, or as an educational support professional in a Georgia public school, are eligible to apply for this grant. And then any money awarded from this grant may not be used for a salary, stipend, or other form of compensation for the applicant and may not be used for other costs directly related to the project. So I'm reading that and I'm saying, I don't see where it says no in answer to your question. I think yes, why not? As long as it would be for public school students, I say go for it. And it says if we can change the school after the grant. Oh, if we change the school after the grant approved, shall we take it to our new school? The grant belongs to you. It does not belong to your school system. And but you just have to be careful if you're writing it for first grade students to do X, and in your new position, you're doing fifth grade students doing Y, then that probably would not work. So, you know, if it's the same usage, I think you should be good to go. And that's why the PD committee moved the deadline back until March 31st. So hopefully people have some idea of where they're going to be with their position for the next year. So
Miss Karen, can I jump in here with that? I would suggest that, especially if you're looking for a transfer or making a move, that you make your grant not so specific that if you do make a move that you're able to still implement it. Math manipulatives, I'm just going to say you can use those from kindergarten through fifth grade. You may just have to change your strategy a little bit, like I said, making addendum to your actual grant, but you're still teaching math. It's just a different grade level, but you're still serving students that you're saying that you're going to serve. So if that is your mindset that you may be transferred, but you're still looking for, you're still within the same subject matter, you may not want to make your grant so precise that you're not able to have that wiggle room.
And I maintain, in having done this, the hardest part for me was translating what I needed and wanted into objectives for my classroom. Like one of the grants I wrote, I knew I needed some videos because my high school students were not going to go ahead and read some of these American Lit titles. And so I wanted them to be able to watch the movie version and at least have some sort of background with Scarlet Letter, etc. So, and I knew they weren't going to do this at home. So I wanted, this is back in the day, I ordered several VCR television combinations and then the videos to go with them so my kids could read in class, air quotes around read. And then another grant, I get injustice kind of ticks me off. And so I was told in my school system we couldn't have any field trips. And in Athens, Georgia, we were close enough to go to the Atlanta Shakespeare Tavern in Atlanta for a 10 a.m. matinee. And so I just wrote the grant. So the tickets for my kids were covered, the gasoline, they were charging $3 a mile, and then the bus driver's salary. And so, you know, that was a win-win. And I could have been, I like what you said, Teresa, about being less specific. I could have gone through and just written it instead of for a specific performance. I could have written it just generally of we will take a trip to the Atlanta Shakespeare Tavern, da 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 da. Monica, you're first, and then Marcia, I'll answer your question. Oh, sorry, Monique?
Yes, ma'am. Sorry, trying to turn my sound and everything back on. So I'm a special education teacher, and I'm wondering if I've been wanting to set up like a sensory corner in my room. Can I use this grant for that? Like I would need, like the barrier so it could be private. I would need, you know, the sensory items to go in there.
Yeah, that sounds like a great idea. I just know some of those, that particular barrier, just make sure that you, before you start writing, that those things you don't price yourself out with $1,000. That I've seen some of those things in some of the different teachers' classrooms, that a lot of times the school district provides, but I that does sound like a really great grant. Just make sure that you go ahead and take a look at, price the items out to make sure that you're going to be able to make that come alive, and not spend, say, $1,000 on just the barrier itself.
And then in your write-up, what objectives in your curriculum are you covering? How will this sensory corner be used to, and fill in the blank to that? And then, Marcia, you're saying retired educators. Again, the language in the application says members of GAE who are actively teaching in the classroom. So if one is a retired educator and you've come back into teaching, and hopefully you've joined GAE as an active member also, because the only benefit GAE retired members do not have is the liability insurance, because hopefully nobody will sue us when we are retired and not in the classroom. So the answer is yes, but you'd have to be and have membership also as an active member in GAE. I hope that's helpful. Other questions? Teresa, do you want to put your contact information in the chat in case people have questions? And if it's okay in our time remaining, there's other free money that you can get through GAE scholarships. And I thought, if it's okay with y'all, I would just share a little bit information about the GAE scholarships. Is that okay? Anybody?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you. Because again, I'm all about the free money. So, and slideshow. So hopefully you know our website is www.gae.org. And when you get there, there's a QR code on the screen. It's also a very simple URL to remember with gae.org/grants. And when you go to professional excellence, you can go through and scroll down the pull down menu, and scholarships and grants are there. So they're hopefully fairly easy to find once you get to our website. And these are foundation scholarships, and the best practices grant comes from the foundation. So every year as an active member, when you are paying your money to GAE, part of that is not taxable as a deduction, because part of it goes to the GAE Foundation. And the foundation is, you can read on the screen, it's also on the website. So we are, I say that because the chair of the Professional Development Committee is on the foundation, as is the NEA senior director, and then Dr. Craig Carter, our GA executive director, Lisa Morgan. So the foundation board is about 9 individuals, and we're there to help augment what you need in terms of educational and opportunities for every student. And this is who can go through and apply for up to $1,000 per year for scholarships. So certified educators, college juniors and seniors, high school seniors, and education support professionals. And because I'm older, I'm going to say this thought that just popped in my mind. If you were to win or be awarded one of these scholarships, or you have a GAE best practices grant funded, make a PR opportunity out of that, both internally within your school system, within your district, maybe even sharing at the school board. And whoever handles, or you could send an article to the local newspaper. I mean, this is good publicity that you as a GAE member are receiving something that not everybody receives. And the other organization, I don't think that they do these kinds of grants and scholarships. So this is a win-win and a nice warm fuzzy for receiving, for applying for, and then being funded and being awarded. And so when you go to the website, there is one form. We've gone through and updated what this looks like on the website. And you can see that the scholarship form initially asked for all your bio stuff. And the last four of your social, originally it asked for your entire social security number. And we thought, well, that's not good. And then you're going to submit the entire packet electronically as a PDF to the foundation at gae.org. And it's the same deadline as the grant. And again, if you're incomplete on this, you're not going to be considered. So following directions, submitting everything that's asked for is good. And on the back side, it tells you what to submit, and you would fill out the part of the application form that applies to you. So if you're a certified educator for an advanced degree, it tells you who is eligible for that. And for most of these, you have to be a GAE member. That makes sense if you're getting money from the GAE Foundation. And some of this is very similar, like advanced degree, who you're employed by, what college, university. And all of these have an essay component. So 1,000 words, and well, maybe we would check to see if it's 1,002, but I don't know. But this one is, why have you chosen to pursue an advanced degree in education, and what do you hope to accomplish as a result of obtaining this advanced degree? And then for this one, submit 2 letters of recommendation. And then the junior, senior for future teachers. Again, this is a college junior, so we expect that person to be an aspiring educator, what college, university, the essay, and then again, we're asking here for 2 letters of recommendation, and it tells you at least one should be from a professor, advisor, other person from your college, university. And then at the very bottom, that's hard to see, the official college transcript. And then the other 2, high school, if you have a student that if you teach high school that's a senior, or you're a parent, or you're a counselor, this is again a good win-win. GAE is promoting scholarship in all of this, and it tells you again the eligibility. Jasia, you raised your hand. Question?
Yes, ma'am. The letters of recommendation for the certified teacher one, who should those come from?
We've decided that that should be your choice.
Okay.
If I'm doing it as a high school student, a high school teacher, I probably would maybe try for my superintendent if I had that kind of rapport, my department chair, my principal, a co-teacher with whom I've worked, maybe a student, again, on the high school level. So that's your choice of who you think. And obviously, someone who has the time and energy and will write a good letter of recommendation too.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Sure. good question. High school juniors and, seniors, this is the only category where you don't have to be a GAE member. But again, parents' name here, name of high school, where you plan to attend, and an essay here, 2 letters of recommendation, at least one from a teacher, counselor, or other person from your high school transcript. And again, if you have any way of promoting this, if you're in a high school environment and making sure that people know that there's $1,000 is $1,000. And then ESP professional scholarship. And this is for our ESPs who are enrolled and pursuing a degree in teaching or education. And again, you can see the essay, the 2 letters of recommendation. So, and again, I've highlighted PDFs, submit the whole thing by March 31st. And these are the formatting considerations, and these should mirror what Teresa shared for the best practices grant. You're going to want one side only PDFs, type everything, especially if you have atrocious handwriting. But in this day and time, I think everybody pretty much keyboards. Legible Arial times New Roman. And the reason Arial is first is because when I created this document, I like Arial. I hate Times New Roman. It's a little tip, 12-point font, and double space everything. And then awarded May 31st, up to $1,000. GAE will hold this on file. Of course, in this electronic time, you'll have a copy yourself. And if you're on the foundation board, you cannot apply. And again, the contact info and then the scholarship awards are not transferable. So you can't get the $1,000 scholarship and say, oh, I'd like to transfer it to my co-teacher. She does a great job. No. And then also at the end of the front of the application form, which one are you applying for? And if you're applying for 2, please complete an application for each one, sign and date. And then the yellow highlight is what I had just gone over that's on the back for the 4 areas of scholarships that we give. So, and on the same page, the gae.org/grants is the form for the best practices grant. So I'm going to stop sharing for just a minute and check the chat. Yes, there will be a recording of this session, and it should be on the GAE YouTube channel. And the application forms, hi, Ms. Foster, should be again at gae.org/grants. And is there an archive feature link where you can go to listen to this meeting? I think I've answered that, but I'll try Mobilize, which is where you signed up for this particular event, has a great feature, and I can go back in and see who attended. So I'll try and send you out the link to everything so that you have this. And the other good news about this is on February 8th, let me make sure I have the right date. Yes, we're going to do a repeat of this. And it's going to be on Saturday morning. We decided on We decided on professional development that we wanted to go through and give people the opportunity to go through and come on a Tuesday evening, or if they wanted to go through and come on a Saturday morning, they could do that. So you might want to just put Saturday, February 8th on your calendar, it is the Saturday morning. We're going to do the event only for an hour. We're not going to go over. And Teresa will present again, and then hopefully somebody will present my part. I have another obligation, but the idea is you might be in the middle of writing your grant or filling out your scholarship form, and hearing the information a couple times is just a good thing to know. And other questions before I just share some general information about upcoming GAE things. Do we think that we might write a scholarship or a grant this year? Are there any thumbs up or any ideas? And up, good. Anybody want to share what you might want to, you're thinking about?
I
And
will
that's
share.
so, please, thanks.
And it's not necessarily for me, although I'm thinking about doing one for myself too as an intervention teacher. But I am a mentor, and my mentee joined GAE this year. But she has been spending a lot of money on things for her classroom, and we are targeting small group instruction. And so I think this grant will be helpful for her to really target her small group, to buy some manipulatives, to buy some things that she can use to help her students in small group.
That is great. And again, I always maintain the hardest part is deciding what you want, how you're going to tie in what you want and tie that into the curriculum and the students you're teaching. Because when you needed crayons, Teresa, how did you tie that into what you were doing?
It's not as hard as you think. What you can do, you can work backwards. You can come up with your idea, and literally there's so many standards that you can find to actually go with what you need, which for your classroom.
Thank you for sharing that. Oh, an aquaponic lab for our science students. I love it. This is good. And whoever shared too, the average teacher spends around $600 a year of their own money on classroom supplies. Now, I find that unconscionable because if we all stop doing it, perhaps the legislature would give us some of that surplus money, and teachers wouldn't have to fund things. I love somebody put in there a robotics lab. Oh, I'm looking forward to reading all of these. This will be wonderful. Other questions that are on your hearts and minds, I'll just share a couple other things that are happening. Well, I'll put my information. Go ahead.
Hello, ma'am. I recently passed case exam, and I'm not a certificate teacher, but I'm in the process. I just applied for the provisional certificate, and to get my certificate, I mean, to get the certificate, I have to do teacher preparatory program or any bachelor degree with the teacher preparatory program. But I do have bachelor's and master's that's from foreign country, India. So I would like to do, but one thing is I can apply for scholarship because scholars, they provide 80 percentage of scholarship. Shall I still apply this scholarship to get the rest of the money to pay for my tuition?
I don't see why not. I mean, other than investing some time in what you're doing to fill out the application,
Mm-hmm.
The committee will decide when we meet probably in April, and $1,000, it couldn't have hurt anything.
Yeah, okay.
you
So I
know.
see that it says certified educator. So I'm just a little worried about that because I'm not certified yet, but I'm looking for that for my education to get the certification.
One thing that I did when I was writing grants, and I never did a scholarship, but I would include additional information.
Mm-hmm.
And so this would, and it doesn't say you cannot include additional information. So you might write a paragraph and say just what
Mm-hmm.
you shared with us this evening, because it would strengthen your case.
Okay. Okay. Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I put my contact information in the chat also, so please feel free to reach out. And I just want to share one other thing that is happening.
I have a
This
question real quick, Miss Karen. I'm sorry.
sure. So
How many scholarships and how many grants are available? Is it like one each $1,000 a year and that's it?
no, well, see, now I should let me open up another tab. GAE.org grants. So when you go and you see the last recipients that I went through and mentioned before, and the older ones again give the contact, not the contact, but the where the person was working. You can see here high school scholarships. There were 10.
Got it. Okay,
So
perfect.
yeah, and if I were doing a best practices grant, I'd see if I could find any of these people and ask them what they were. And sometimes, well, one of the things we're trying to do on Professional Development Committee is, and why we did this workshop, is to make sure more people know that they have this opportunity. Because if your GAE dues are 500, maybe 600 if you're in a large metro system, and you're paying that, but you get $1,000 as a scholarship or grant, that's a win-win. So,
Mm-hmm.
GAE, some people say, I can't afford to do GAE, it's too expensive. Well, there are many opportunities to go through and get your money's worth, and this is one of them. So thank you for the
Mm-hmm.
question.
Thank
I
you.
share that also this particular piece is open to members and non-members. And so as a retired member, it's really near and dear to my heart about the pre-retirement seminars that the GAE Retired Organization presents. And we have one coming up this Saturday. They really do last 4 hours because we cover a ton of stuff. We have a representative from the TRS system that will do a generic presentation. And if you are not within 5 years of retirement, but you're 8 years out, come anyway, because you will hear something that will impact how you proceed with retirement. Oop, and I just saw something that needed to be changed. But if you have registered for here on Mobilize, you will get all the Mobilize information. And this is one of the things you can sign up for on Mobilize. So, and we'll do another one in March. We do 4 during the program year, so please join us. So, any other questions or concerns for this evening? Well,
Miss Karen,
yes,
I think we covered this, but just so I'm clear, can we apply for the grant and the scholarship in the same year?
heck yes. Yes, because
Okay,
to me, it's 2 different things. One is best practices for what you're doing in an educational situation, and the other is you're doing something to further your education. 2 different.
thanks.
Great question. Anything else? Folks, thanks for giving your time this evening and being here. Thank you for what you do in public education. And most of all, thank you for being a member of the Premier Education Association in the state of Georgia. Thank you for being a GAE member. So
Thank you,
please
Miss Karen.
join us early and often for all events GAE. I hope you learned something this evening. And I want to thank our presenter, Teresa Hines, for what she shared about the best practices grant. So go forth, conquer, and write something so you'll get some free money.